Have you ever seen your pastor plunger a toilet? Have you ever seen your youth minister clean up vomit? Have you ever seen your kids' pastor or nursery minister or director? Have you ever seen them get peed on? If you haven't, you should ask them if that's ever happened. Hey, pastor, have you ever had a clogged toilet that you've had to plunge at the church? Hey, pastor, have you ever had to set up and tear down an entire auditorium by yourself? Hey, director Susie, have you ever been peed on in the nursery? Have you ever had open a diaper and it just overflowed all over you? That's gross. But that any good pastor or any good leader or any experience, maybe I shouldn't say good, but any experienced pastor or minister or director has an experience like that. It may not be specifically that, but I know a lot of kids pastors who have been thrown up on because they were feeding the children themselves. I know a lot of senior pastors who have arrived at church early because they had to set up 300 chairs by themselves. I know a lot of pastors of small churches who are also not only the senior pastor, they're also the janitorial staff. Being a leader means you have to do what others won't. You have to do what others can't. And one homework assignment, and if you need to pause this video. I want you to text your pastor or text your youth pastor, whoever, someone in a leadership position in your church, and ask him that question. Have you ever been peed on? Have you ever been vomited on? Have you ever cleaned up vomit? Have you ever unclogged the toilet? Have you ever swept up water or mopped up a water leak? Have you mowed the grass at the church? I want you to pause the video right now and text a pastor that. I'm very curious to know what they say. Leadership basic number one, you have to do what others won't. Okay. And for a lot of us in this media ministry, that includes doing the techie stuff. A lot of people will not go back there and finagle with the audio knobs. It's daunting. It's overwhelming. It's nerve wracking. And yeah, they're the same people that when the audio goes out, they're like, but they're facing the other way. They're like watching the pastor. Audio goes out. And you get that look, and they don't want to be on the receiving end of that look. So they don't want to be back there running the audio. And, some people realize the need for live streaming, but they don't want to go through the effort to set it up and make it happen because it's going to be hard. And so leadership basic number one is you have to do what others won't. And the great thing is just by being a part of the media ministry, and for a lot of you who are the team of one, you're already doing that. So guess what that means? You're already a leader. The rest of this stuff should just flow with no problems. When you start building a team, you're going to bring in people to do the technical work so you can focus on other things. For example, if you're running slides and the live stream, you're probably going to want to bring on someone to run the slides so you can focus on the live stream, or run the live stream so you can focus on the slides. You might have someone come in to do the audio. You might have someone come in to help you wrap up cables and clean up. You do a lot of things that others won't. But when you start bringing people into your ministry, you should only ask them to do what you're willing to do yourself. Okay? If you're not willing to climb under the choir rafts, is that what it's called? Rafters? Choir rafters? Choir bleachers? Choir stage? Whatever. If you're not willing to climb under the stage and get dusty and dirty to fish cabling through under the stage or to run cabling for a new snake, then you should not be willing to ask someone else to do that. Okay? And this doesn't count like, I can't fit under there, so I need a kid to run under there. I've done that before. But if you're not willing to do that yourself, if you're not willing to get up on the 30-foot rafters, that's what I was thinking of, and run cabling across the ceiling, then you have no business asking someone else to do it for you. I am terrified of ladders. I'm not scared of heights. I've been to the Sears Tower top floor, and I've done the Ferris Bueller thing where you put your glass on the window and look down. I have no problems with that. Something on my bucket list is to swim in that pool. I think it's in Houston. I think it's in Texas. It might be in Dallas. But that pool that goes over the edge and the bottom is glass and you swim basically with nothing underneath you. It's super scary, but I'm not afraid of heights. I mean, the idea is exhilarating. It's not really scary, but I have faith in the engineering. I'm not afraid of heights. But I am afraid of ladders. I have no idea what it is. Once I get on the third step or above, I just freak out. I don't know if it's because I've always been a big guy and I'm afraid the ladder is not going to hold. I don't know if I fell off a ladder when I was younger and I have this mental block. I don't know what it is. I hate climbing into my attic. I hate stepping on the top rung of my step ladder even. I can stand on a chair. I'm fine with that. But I just hate ladders. I really don't like having cathedral ceilings in my house because I have to get on that ladder every few months. Why do I tell you this story? Because we hung new lighting in our church. And I needed someone to go up and we had the truss hung up. Now we just needed someone to go up and actually hang the lights. And I needed a volunteer to do that because I was scared of getting up the ladder. I'm scared of ladders. I actually had Steven, and I'm going to try not to tear up because Steven's passed away. I had a gentleman named Steven who's the nicest guy you've ever met. And he got up on the ladder and he started hanging up lights. I think we had 8 lights. And he did 7 lights. And then he came down and he said, 1 more. And I said, okay, I need to hang up a light. I'm going to hang up this last one. I was on a 30-foot ladder. This was a 30-foot ladder to get it up, and you were not supposed to stand on the top rung, but you pretty much had to, okay? I don't think I did. I think I got away without it, but, I mean, I was on that second to last rung up all the way at the top. I was nervous as heck. I did not look down. Again, I'm not scared of heights. I'm scared of ladders. And not only did I have to climb up the 30-foot ladder, I had to lug up a can with me. This wasn't some light LED light. We were still using halogens or whatever the regular bulbs are. So I had to lug this heavy light up there. And then with no hands on the ladder, hang up the light and tighten it on the truss and make sure, and then connect it to the DMX box, DMC box. I don't know. Run DMC box, DMX pack, right? That's what it's called. And I did that on the last light because I could not stand there and watch a man do what I was not willing to do. I had asked him to come in and do this, and I was not willing to do it myself. So for the last one, and it should have been the first one, I said, Stephen, I have to hang up this light. I have to hang up this light because that's what I need to do as a leader. Boy, I was scared. I faked it till I felt it, but I'm still here. I didn't fall off the ladder. Stephen was at the bottom holding the ladder for me. It was still way too wobbly for my comfort. For me, it's not so much the climbing up, it's the coming down. I'm so nervous about coming down a ladder. Anyways, that story to tell you that you should only ask your team to do what you're willing to do. Okay? Now, I notice I didn't say what you're able to do. Okay? You have to be willing to do it. Maybe you gave it your best shot, but you're just unable to get the job done. Okay. So you have to be willing to do it. Okay. In tech, it's pretty easy, right? I mean, you have to be willing to learn the audio board, but then perhaps someone else who has a better ear than you, has more experience than you, maybe they ran audio in theater in college or high school, then you allow them to come in and you say, hey, can you run the audio? You seem to know what you're doing. You can train them on what you know, and then they can take it further. That doesn't mean you're not willing to go further. You're just not able to because of time constraints, resources constraints, experience constraints. So being a leader means you have to do what others won't do, but then also when you bring people into the team, you have to only ask them what you're willing to do. When you ask someone to do something that you will not do, that's a deal breaker for you. You are not a leader. You are a commander. Okay. And then in terms of a ministry team, that's not okay. All right. You need to be willing to do what you ask someone else to do. Number 3, this is a pretty simple one, but integrity. You have to be great even when no one's looking. Steve Jobs has a story. It's a pretty famous story, but I'll tell it anyways in case you haven't heard it. There's a story of Steve Jobs, not founder of Apple, but CEO of Apple that basically brought it into its heyday. Left the company. The company almost crashed. Steve Jobs came back and brought it into a whole new heyday. Steve Jobs tells a story about when he was painting a fence with his dad. I think he was painting it white. But he had I just imagine a white picket fence out in his yard. And they had to paint the fence. And of course, you paint the fence so it looks nice. It doesn't show wear and tear. It presents a nice curb appeal. But then Steve Jobs' dad, said, okay, son, now we're going to paint the back of the fence. And Steve Jobs said, well, why do we have to paint the back of the fence? No one's going to see it. Only we will see it from our yard. And his dad basically said, we're going to paint the fence so it looks good from all views, all angles. And Steve took that with him. That was a life lesson that he carried into Apple. If you open up an Apple computer, it looks nothing like a PC or any kind of home-built or other off-the-shelf computer. You take an off-the-shelf computer, it looks like it just looks like a computer. You open it up and there's a bunch of stuff in there. You open up an Apple computer, even though you're not supposed to. You open up an Apple computer, the inside, the interior actually looks really sharp. Like literally, it looks 10 or 20 years ahead of its time. Okay, it's totally different. And granted, other people have caught up, so this is more true 10 years ago than it is today. But because Steve Jobs had this instilled in him that you have to paint the fence even where no one's looking. And he wanted to make sure that he did the best job from all angles. And so when you're a leader of a ministry, you have to be great even when no one's looking. That means even if no one is watching the stream for whatever reason, if you're just getting started and you've got 0 live stream viewers, you are still running the camera, running the transitions, bringing the audio in, bringing the lyrics in, all that stuff. You're still streaming with excellence, even if no one's looking. You are working on a Thursday night because you can't do it on Wednesday night because they're rehearsing, and Sunday, of course, is off limits, and there's a meeting or something, so you have to come in when the doors are open. You go in the booth and you work hard in the media booth, even though no one's watching. You have to be great, even when no one's watching. This also includes continuing your education. That's number 4 of leadership basics. Continue your education. And this includes learning from your crew. I'm a young guy. I'm 30. Give me a second. I'll be 33 33 this year. I'll be 33 this year. But I've been in ministry since I was 18 on staff. And I've worked with lots of guys that were older than me, some guys that were slightly older than me, some guys that were really older than me. In fact, I should text them. And there was a lot that they could teach me. So even though I was the IT media director, I had a guy come that used to work for Dell for decades and retired from Dell. And he came and he taught me a lot of stuff about computers. And, you're here because you want to hone your skill, hone your craft as part of CTA Insiders. This is your continuing education. A lot of us, we started off on YouTube. That's fine. We started off on Google. Sometimes troubleshooting and figure things out, that is our continuing education, but don't get comfortable. Just as your pastor goes to conferences, just as your pastor reads books, a lot of pastors have shelves on shelves on shelves of books. At least my pastors always have. They do that to continue their education. They do that to learn, and you need to learn as well. Not just technical stuff. You need to learn leadership. You need to learn how to run a team. You need to learn how to run better audio. You need to learn how to use a new piece of equipment. I like to learn new equipment before I actually get it. If I know I'm going to get it, I'm going to spend the time learning it before I get it, just to make sure that it does the job that I want to do. And then number 5, as a leader, I'm going to wrap it up here. You have to understand the bigger picture of the church from your own leadership. And this is going to be really hard for a lot of y'all because not even the leadership does this, okay? But you as a ministry leader need to understand you're part of the puzzle in the greater mission and vision of the church, okay? A lot of churches' mission and vision is make disciples that make disciples that make disciples, and we're going to equip you to be a better Christian and live the life that Jesus wants you to live, blah, blah, blah. The vision is to impact and change the area for the better, for the kingdom, blah, blah, blah. But there's a certain way that your leadership is going to carry that out. And it's your job as a leader of a ministry, a sub-ministry, to figure out where do you belong in this mission and vision? How does your live stream ministry fit into the mission of making disciples that make disciples? Where does you running the sound fit into the mission of equipping the church to do the Great Commission? This is something that you have to figure out. And then as you dig deeper into your leadership, usually at a larger church, but I've worked with churches of 125. Ooh, man, okay. For this specific instance, 125, which I consider still a small church, that knew that they had a certain demographic that they wanted to reach. They examined their people, they examined their leaders and said, we are equipped to reach the blue collar worker. So where does your live stream help the church reach teach and preach to blue collar workers? It's a good question. How can your Sunday your content beyond Sunday reach those people? Once you know you're reaching blue collar workers, you know exactly what you need to post on social media. Understanding the bigger picture of what the greater mission of the church is, Little C Church, you're like your local church, will help you understand how your ministry fits in there. Not only that, when you communicate that to your team, you remind them you're not a button monkey. You're not just here to click next on the slides. You're here to better equip the people in the building, and you streaming, you're here to better equip the people beyond this building. This is huge. And so you need to communicate that. So that's just a few leadership basics. Do what others won't. And when you bring people on, only ask them to do what you're willing to do. Be great even when no one's looking. Continue your own education, even learning from your own crew, and understand the bigger picture of what your church is trying to do and how your ministry fits into that. All right, you ready to dig down and dirty? I haven't given you a lot of homework, but you're about to get some homework. So keep watching. If you're watching this all the way through, congratulations. Keep watching, keep taking notes. The next step cannot be skipped. It is very important. It can be done over time, or it can be done all at once in a couple hours. Okay, it's going to take a little bit of time. But we're going to talk about creating systems and processes next. Because what's the point of bringing someone onto your team if you don't know what they're supposed to do? If you can't explain what they're supposed to do? If you can't teach what they're supposed to do? How are they supposed to say yes if they don't even know what they're supposed to do? We're going to talk about that next as we talk about creating systems and processes as you assemble your team.